We have this generation of capable, brilliant women who can almost run the world, but then they flicker with anxiety when it's time to open their brokerage account statement.
Almost 90% of us at some point in our lives will be solely responsible for making financial decisions because we tend to live longer than men, or the divorce rate is quite high in the country.
And so industry data tells us that even women earning more than $250,000 a year report less confidence in investing than men with significantly less in assets and income.
Our clients that are in their 50s and 60s are often the first women in their family to even have a financial plan. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, so good to see you. It's been too long.
Great to see. I know, too long. For those of you who don't know, we're in different offices. So we Teams and talk every day, but don't get to see each other even on screen sometimes. So
yeah,
great to see you too, partner. Welcome back, everybody, to Living Richly with Curo. This is episode 96. We are so excited to have you back with us. If you are one of our OG listeners, if you're just checking us out, my name is McCabe. I am the CEO and a partner here at Curo Private Wealth, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely partner, Atricia.
Hello, I am Atricia Roberts, COO and partner here at Curo, and thanks for checking out the Living Richly podcast today. We're excited about this topic, at least I am.
Yes, we are. And our goal here and our mission here, and also in what we do each and every day in our actual firm, is to educate, inspire, and empower you on your financial journeys. And today's episode is in honor of Mother's Day, which is coming up, but by the time this drops, I think we'll have already just recently passed. And so today we're going to talk about a very important topic and one that's not discussed a lot, and that is the money messages that your mother never told you. And the timing of this topic felt really right because not only is it Mother's Day, but the women with whom we work are thinking a lot about their moms, whether they are still with us or not, the messages that they were told, and the messages that they may want to carry forward in a different way, right? There are some messages that we want to continue to hold on to from our mothers, and others that we probably need to reflect on and possibly change. So we are going to talk about those messages, which are sometimes unspoken, but can still help to shape the financial decisions that we make today. So we want to make sure that none of those messages are holding us back and that they are empowering us to live the life that we want to live moving forward.
Yes. And so when we talk about messages, we realize that some of the messages we received were in what was unspoken, right? The silence was its own message. And so for many of our mothers, money is not simply, it just wasn't a topic of conversation, right? And it's not because they were withholding it on purpose. It's because for many of our moms, it just wasn't a language that they had for themselves, especially, our mothers of this generation. And so a lot of our clients' mothers came of age at a time when women couldn't open a credit card in their own name, right? That didn't change until 1974. I think sometimes we lose perspective of the fact that that's not that long ago, right?
Crazy.
It's right. It's crazy that
Yeah.
1974 was the first time a woman could own a credit card in her own name. And so the lesson in that became that money is complicated. It's uncomfortable. It's someone else's job, right? It's someone else's concern. And none of it was said out loud, but it didn't have to be, right? The silence was its own message. And so the result we find is that we have this generation of capable, brilliant women who can almost run the world, but then they flicker with anxiety when it's time to open their brokerage account statements, right? Because of those unspoken messages. And so industry data tells us that even women earning more than $250,000 a year report less confidence in investing than men with significantly less in assets and income. And the gap is not about ability, it's about inheritance, right? The ideas and the messages that you inherited. And it shows up in different ways across different generations, but sometimes have similar implications. So for our younger clients, the script wasn't not to worry about it, but it was more, you can do anything, be independent, don't depend on a man to take care of you. The trouble with that message, though, is that it came with high expectations and little to no education behind it. And I'm sure you've seen this when we talk to our millennial clients about this. Like, they know they should be doing these things, just not quite sure how to get it done. And so their mothers often were the first generations that were expected to manage their own money, but didn't always have the tools to do it themselves. Neither did they have the tools to teach or share with their daughters. And so some of us weren't told to stay out of money, but we were told to figure it out on our own. So it was a different inheritance, but it had the same anxiety and the same gap between what you're expected to know and what you were actually taught. And so it's not about placing blame on our mothers. They gave us what they had, right? They can only offer tools that they were given. But the question now is, what do you do next? What do we do next now with where we are in this messaging?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about these messages that we inherited. And when we use the word inheritance or inherited in this episode, we're not talking about monetarily, right? Like receiving a monetary inheritance. We're really talking about receiving inherited messages. So just wanted to clarify that. So here are some common messages that a lot of women have absorbed from the time they were little. The first one, how many times have we heard this? Be careful with money. When we hear this, the translation is all about scarcity. It is not an abundance message. It is a scarcity message. And so the idea with this message is be careful, be scared, don't take risks, right? Risks will hurt you. So we want to be really careful about that. Next message that a lot of women, us women, heard was find a good provider, right? Find a dude with some money. I mean,
all of the Southern girls from religious families are raising our
are
hands.
like raising their hands, like, yes, that was us. All you need to do is find a good man that makes a lot of money, can protect you, take care of you, right? Oh my God. So translation of this message is financial security can only come externally from a guy, right? Like find financial security outside of yourself, not within yourself. So gosh, I mean, that's just a detrimental message. Next one, it's not polite to talk about money, right? We don't talk about money. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion. Some of those things are probably good things not to talk about, especially right now. But the translation from a money standpoint with this one is don't negotiate your salary, right? Don't ask questions. Don't compare advisors when you have decided that you need a financial advisor. Don't ask about fees. And definitely don't speak with your friends about money.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
It is insane. It is absolutely insane. Okay, next. Save, but don't take risks. How many times do we see with our female clients loads and loads of cash, lots of liquidity, which y'all who have been listening for a while know we love cash. We're not saying cash is a bad thing. Too much cash is a bad thing. It's an opportunity cost, right? So what this message translates to is cash is safe and the market is gambling, right? Next and last, we can't afford that. So yeah, we can't afford that. Even if they could, by the way, even if they could, they would say they can't afford that. And so this translates to pleasure costs more than it's worth, and wanting things is dangerous.
The numbers of conversations that I have with our women clients who struggle with the idea of just wanting something because they want it.
Right. Yeah. But I don't need that. Okay.
Right.
So who said you need something?
Said you need it to have it.
Yeah, exactly. Who said that was the rule?
So what these messages cost us, right, over time is we have lower investing confidence, even among high earners, right? I mean, we see this with affluent women, women who have tons of income, like Ann mentioned, tons of cash. They still feel very insecure about investing. There's also, as Ann mentioned, that reluctance to negotiate salaries. And this is a big one. Thinking of money as something you don't discuss costs you over the long term. You don't ask the advisors about fees, you don't push back, and those things have a compounding effect over time. And so, what we want to do is give you some ideas to help you rewrite those messages now. And so, we'll start with the first of those messages is that money is for men to manage. Now, I want all of the I want all of the married or previously married women in the room who can probably be an amen corner to this. But the ideas that you inherit around that is that financial decisions are too complex. And so you need to leave it to him. Okay. And there is a cost to that message. 70% of widows leave their advisor within a year of losing their spouse because they were never a part of the relationship to begin with. And you should always, always be a part of any relationship, especially when it comes to your money. And so we encourage you to rewrite that message as I am the decision maker in my own financial life. I get to be in the room. And even if it's just you, right? Even if you are unpartnered, you are in the driver's seat of making your financial decisions.
Yeah, and this reminds me too of the statistic that we share on our website about the percentage of women who will eventually be the sole decision makers of their finances. It's almost 90%. So even if you are married or in a partnership, roughly and almost 90% of us at some point in our lives will be solely responsible for making financial decisions because we tend to live longer than men, or the divorce rate is quite high in the country. So even if you're not in a position now, or you feel like, oh, well, he takes care of that, it's likely that you'll need to make some decisions at some point in your life. So why not
Absolutely.
go ahead and practice now?
And you'll absolutely be behind if you have to be forced into a situation to do it and to learn, especially if you're trying to process some emotional weight in at the same time. So another message is that it's not polite to talk about money. And so what we inherit is that money is private. You don't ask, you don't tell, you don't compare. And so the cost of that is that we don't negotiate, we don't compare fees, we don't ask our friends what they earn, right, or are paid. And that quietness has a price tag. And so we want to rewrite that as questions are how I get clarity, right? Conversations are how women build wealth together. It's important to know. Like, Anne, do you talk to your friends about money at all?
I mean, I do, but I'm weird.
I say I do, but I'm also a financial advisor, right? Like I
Yeah,
force
that's
my
the
friends.
yeah, that's right. But it's us forcing the conversation. That's the only reason that we do. Otherwise, I mean, my friends now they're used to it and comfortable and know that, we can talk very openly about money, but I don't think that that's a normal thing that most women actually talk with their friends about.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, not talking about it, I think it's vitally important to know what your friends are earning because they're usually in similar career phases of life as you. You're around the same age. And I think that context is important. So, another message that Anne addressed was saving is enough, right? Cash is king, cash is safe, the market is gambling and therefore unsafe, and you should be careful. The cost of that really is that inflation quietly erodes, right? Your savings every year. Over 20 or 30 years, the gap between savings and investments gets to be enormous. And so we want to rewrite that message that saving protects me today, investing builds the life I want tomorrow. And I think that is such a powerful message. And so, our fourth message is that wealth is something to feel guilty about. And this one is a big one, I think, for a lot of women. You inherit this message that it's okay to make money, it's not okay to have money. And so that cost is that usually if you're a business owner, you are undercharging, right? Or you're over gifting to adult children because you feel guilty about having. You apologize for success, or you're hesitant to claim what you've earned. And so we encourage our listeners and viewers to rewrite that as wealth is a tool I get to use intentionally. Guilt is not a financial strategy. And that is
Yeah.
another huge one we see a lot of.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about this, a little bit later, but like
Yeah.
says who, right? Like it's so important when you have these messages come up to like just pause and sit with them and really like do some investigating, right? Like where is this coming from and says who? Who says that this is the rule that you have to feel guilty if you've been financially successful?
Right. And so the fifth message that we want to rewrite is someone else knows better than I do. And so what you inherit is that you defer decision making to a partner or to the advisor or to your brother. We get that one a lot, who studied finance in college, or for a lot of women, an adult son who knows more about money than they do. And the cost is that you don't fully understand, right? You have plans that you don't understand, and you make decisions that you didn't fully choose because you deferred to someone else. And so we're rewriting that message as advisors advise, but I or you decide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about some of the maybe not so productive messages that our mothers either directly said or were kind of out in the world, but were unspoken. But let's talk now about what our mothers got right and what would be helpful to continue to keep in our lives moving forward. Because some of these messages are gold and don't need to be rewritten. So it's just about being aware of these. So many of our mothers, and I think both of our mothers were this case, were extraordinary at stretching their dollar, very resourceful, also found ways, even when the season maybe was tight from a cash flow perspective, to be generous, which was a lovely thing to be able to observe, and really made running a household on a fraction of what we make, most of us make now, look like seamless, which is quite incredible when we look back at it. They modeled work ethic. I know I think back a lot about how hard my mom worked to raise us and as we were growing up. And I absolutely think that I emulate that work ethic that I learned from her. My dad too. He still works very
Still
hard,
works.
but
So they still works
exactly,
pretty hard.
exactly. But that really, gave us a quiet sort of wisdom in that observation. And our clients that are in their 50s and 60s are often the first women in their family to even have a financial plan. I mean, that was not something, I know your family had a very different experience. My family, like, financial planning did not exist. It was not something that we ever, talked about or that I was aware of. But it doesn't mean that that was wrong, right? And we always say that our parents did the absolute best that they could. And I truly believe that with the information and the resources that they had readily available. It's just our opportunity now to do things a little bit differently. So this is absolutely not about blaming. I think we all have a lot of gratitude for what our parents did for us. And now it's just about really consciously choosing which are those messages that we want to continue to believe moving forward and which are the ones that maybe have subconsciously been running in the background that are not serving us.
Yeah. And again, I think sometimes back to little I guess unintentional money messages I got from my mom. Like, I don't know about your mom, but my mom had a coupon pouch in her purse, right? She was always clipping a coupon if we were in a store. And I'm like, I should probably use more coupons these days. I probably could save a lot more money. Or even going to the ATM. I remember my mom would let me go to the ATM for her. And I would always ask her which account. Now, I won't say that it was a secret account that my dad didn't know about. He probably did. But the way it was always implied to me was that it was like her secret account. Like, no, we're going to go do something fun. Go get it out of my account. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we're using mom's money. Daddy doesn't know about it, kind
Yeah.
of thing. And so those things
Felt so
resonate, right? It makes me
rebellious.
yeah, but then it
That's
also informs
amazing.
the way I think about women in relationships. Like, well, do you have your money? Like,
Do
where's
you have your
your
secret
money?
account?
Where's your secret account?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No, I mean,
absolutely.
that's
So,
definitely something that we advise is even
yeah.
for our married women and married couples for, you to have your own account. Also, I think like if you're going to, buy a birthday gift for your spouse or whatever, like
Yeah,
those are things that I don't want my partner seeing how much I'm spending on his gift, right? I want
right.
that to be between me and my bank account, my credit card.
Yeah. But I also think it helps relieves a little of that guilty feeling of spending, right? Because you don't feel like you're taking it from someone else. It's like, oh, this is my money that I set aside, so I'm spending that money on me. And at least I
Yeah.
hope that helps release some of that guilty feeling.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it does. I think
yeah.
it does. So, a couple questions that we want you to ask yourself just to kind of drill down on these things is number one, what did my mother get right about money that I want to honor? So, that's really identifying what are the positive messages that you inherited from your mother. And then, secondly, we want to identify what are maybe some of those things that were passed down that she meant well but are no longer fitting in the kind of life that you are designing for yourself. And I think this would be like a great journaling exercise to sit down and really spend some time to reflect, write it down if that's your thing. I think sometimes it can be very therapeutic to write answers to these sorts of questions, and then it really kind of gets it out on paper and you can see it and decide what you want to do with it moving forward.
Yeah. One of the things that my therapist coached me in doing when we first started working together was to write a letter to my mother. And
Oh
was
my
to
God.
and yeah, it
Whew.
was an emotional process. I mean, anybody who's been around know I lost my mother when I was young, but writing out some of those things I wanted to say or wanted to ask, right? Why did you do this? And again, expecting no response, but just going through the exercise of processing the things that you learned, whether intentional or unintentional, and you're trying to process again what you keep and what you unlearn or do differently. Yep. So one of the things we encourage now is that we rewrite the script for the next generation, right? And what does that mean? What messages now do we want to give to the young women coming behind us? And so one of the things we want to encourage is to talk about money at the dinner table, right? Talk about your salaries, your savings, talk about the mistakes, talk about the debt, talk about the credit card bills, student loans, all of it. I think talking about it not only gets it out, removes the shame around it, but it also allows people to be able to help or give advice or to guide. We also suggest bringing daughters to your financial planning meetings, right? Let them in on the conversation. Even just listening instills something that you may not realize how much of an impact it may make. And then you want to model the questions, not just the answers. So let your daughters or younger women see you ask an advisor to explain something 3 times until it's clear, right? There's something powerful in knowing that it's okay to ask for understanding. And then you also want to talk about the mistakes, right? The credit card debt in your 20s. And if you listen to our money journeys episode of this podcast, I talk about that one a lot. The investment that didn't pan out, right? The bad choices that you made, maybe that business you were going to start that was unsuccessful. The time you said yes or you accepted something when you should have negotiated. Those conversations are impactful. Those mistakes can be some of the best teachers. And then we also want to normalize that wealth is not a secret to be ashamed of, and it's not a problem to apologize for. You have worked so hard to accumulate the things that you have to get to the place that you have in your life. And it's something that you should wear as a badge of honor and give you a sense of pride and not make you feel guilty for.
All right, so we have some homework for you all this week, in addition to those questions that we mentioned about journaling. Here are a couple things that we want you to consider doing this week. So, number one, identify your top 3 money beliefs. We want you to write these down, say them out loud. That's very powerful if you articulate them. And we want these to be not the ones you want or wish you had, but the ones that are actually running your life right now. What are they? What are they? Name them, write them down. Number 2, once you have those down on paper, ask yourself, where did I learn this and whose voice is really coming through with these money beliefs? Now we want you to just one that no longer serves the life that you're building. And we want you to write a true sentence to replace it. So, for example, if one of your money beliefs is that money is for men to manage, we want you to rewrite that to I am the decision maker in my own financial life. And then next, consider having a money conversation that you may have been avoiding. So maybe it's with your daughter, with your sister, with a friend, with your financial advisor. Have that conversation that you have been wanting to have, but have been putting off because it may feel uncomfortable or scary. So again, like Atricia was mentioning with asking questions, the most successful and smartest women that we have the pleasure of knowing and working with are the ones that are confident in asking the questions, because they know that in asking the questions, that will get them closer to the answers that they need.
100%. Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
So, in closing, we do want to acknowledge that the messages we received weren't always chosen by us and they weren't our fault. And many of those lessons came from women who were doing their best, right, to abide in systems and in seasons that didn't make space for them in the same way that generations now that we get to claim. So we are allowed to be the generation that names the scripts, keeps what serves, and rewrite what doesn't. Your relationship with money is allowed to be honest, comfortable, and most importantly, yours. So that's how generational wealth is actually built. It's not just in dollars, it's in confidence, it's in conversations, it's in new scripts that we hand down intentionally on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps the topic
Mhm.
for today. Hopefully that was helpful and gives you all some things to reflect on for this Mother's Day season. So what do we have for a closing thought today, Atricia?
Yeah, my closing thought is really just more for our mothers and mother-like women. And so I always like to acknowledge, of course, the biological mothers and wishing you all a happy Mother's Day, but also acknowledging the women who have been like a mother to other women in lives. So big sisters and friends and aunts or aunts, depending on where you're from, right? Even women in your social circle. Like I think about who I call my golf aunties, right? They're all at least 10 years older than me, but they treat me in such a way that makes me feel loved and nurtured and cared for. And so I appreciate those relationships as well. So shout out to all of the moms and all of the mom adjacent women in
Mhm.
people's lives. We wish you a wonderful Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, absolutely. My closing thought is I started reading a book called Strangers. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Okay. I
Hmm.
actually heard of it. I was at a female financial advisor conference and I heard about the book from another female advisor. And she was like, this book is insane. And it's like better than any like
Mm.
personal finance book you would read about what not to do in a relationship
Right.
when it comes to money. I'm only about a third of the way through. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna spoil anything. And I also don't know how the story ends. But I will say that if you're looking for a great book, it's a memoir about marriage, but again, it's about what not to do as a woman in a relationship with your financial life and financial future. I find myself like having to put the book down because I have like emotional reactions
Mm.
to some of the things that she
Hmm.
has done, has allowed to happen to her, and sort of like the thought process of what she was going through, especially at the beginning of the relationship, where she's like, well, you know, this is going to be my husband and I have to trust
Mm.
him. And anyway, so yeah, there have been times where I've had to put the book down and like take a deep breath,
So I throw the book across the room.
throw the book across the room because I'm like, you did what? Oh my God. But it's really, really, really good so far. So if you're looking for, you know, a great read, but also one that can help you learn from other people's mistakes when it comes to what not to do in a relationship with your money, I so far highly recommend. Again, I'm not all the way through, but I thought it was a fitting book to mention for the closing thought today with our
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah. You know how people talk about I hate watching television shows? Like I just watch it so that I can complain about it and moan about it all. That's how I feel
Yeah.
about that book. Like I want to read it like a hate read.
Exactly, just so you can be, like, raging as you're going through the pages. Like, "Oh my god." Yeah, but it's really good, and she's a really good writer, and it's, like,
Okay.
one of these books that I have to, like, make myself put down at night because
Mhm.
I need to go to bed, but I just, like, wanna keep reading and, you know, see what happens next, so
Oh,
very much enjoying it.
love that. Well, I'm
Yeah,
curious to see or hear about how it ends.
yeah, exactly. All right, y'all. Well, that wraps us for another week. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you're liking. Let us know if there's any other topics that you'd like to hear us talk about. We love hearing from you. We do have an email address, which is podcast@curoprivatewealth.com. We're also all over the socials, so find us there at Curo Private Wealth. And until next time.
Live richly.
Thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Friendly reminder that this is for informational purposes only. For additional information, please visit us at www.curoprivatewealth.com. Until next time, live richly.